Elara Voss tightened the straps on her gloves, the cracked leather creaking in protest. The lab was a ruin of shattered glass and half-melted consoles, but her focus was on the machine bolted to the floor. The Chrono Vortex thrummed, its course swirling like liquid mercury, casting a blue glow that danced across the debris-strewn walls. She adjusted the hollow interface, the projected equations flickering erratically. Every flicker was a reminder of the chaos she had unleashed. Elara had always been drawn to the unknown. As a child, she'd gazed at the stars, imagining that if she could just find a way to manipulate the threads of time, she could undo the past, erase the regrets, fix the mistakes, rewrite her own life. She'd lost so much, a family fractured by a war, the promise of a career lost to personal failure, and the lingering guilt over her inability to save those she cared about. She thought the Chrono Vortex was just another puzzle to solve, another mystery to uncover. But it was more than that. It was a trap, one she hadn't even seen coming. "You're running out of time," Elwire's voice broke through her thoughts, the AI's humanoid form flickering beside her. But this version of Elwire wasn't the calm, impassive voice of the machine she'd known for years. This was a version of Elwire marked by time itself, scarred by the collapse of 1,000 timelines. She looked like a reflection of Elara's own face, aged and weathered by years of responsibility. A reminder of the stakes. Elara ignored the irony. "If I had a credit for every time you said that, I could have bought a ship to get off this rock." The AI's expression didn't change. "You activated the vortex too soon. The ripples in the timeline are unstable. If you don't fix it, you won't exist to complain about it." Elara exhaled sharply, pushing back the panic rising in her throat. "I know." The Chrono Vortex had been a forgotten relic, buried beneath the ruins of an old research facility. Its activation log dated back over a century. It should have been impossible for something so advanced to have remained hidden for so long. The schematics weren't in any database, and yet there it was, waiting for her, as though the universe had always intended for her to find it. And when she powered it up, the timeline itself fractured. A series of cascading anomalies, each one more disturbing than the last. That was when Elwire had appeared. Not as the calculated AI she had once trusted, but something different. This version of Elwire carried an edge of desperation, a hollow-eyed certainty that chilled Elara more than the ruins around her. She was no longer a guide but a remnant, a warning embedded in the very code of the machine. At first, Elara had scoffed. But then the anomalies started. Objects disappearing. Moments repeating. A glimpse of herself in places she hadn't been. And now, standing across the lab, a second version of herself stared back, wide-eyed, gripping a spanner like a weapon. The younger Elara was dressed in the same tattered work jacket, her face unscarred, her hands steady. "What the hell?" she whispered. Older Elara swallowed, trying to keep her voice steady. "Yeah, that's about right." The machine pulsed again, its glow intensifying. Reality wavered, like heat haze rippling through the air. Elire's form stuttered, her expression unreadable. Younger Elara stepped forward, her fingers twitching. You're me. But different." Older Elara sighed. "I made a mistake. I turned the machine on too early." She gestured to the vortex's swirling core. "It's breaking time apart." Younger Elara hesitated, her gaze darting between the machine and her older self. "Then why are we both here?" Elwire's voice, calm yet firm, cut through the haze. "The loop is collapsing. The paradox cannot sustain itself. Either you fix it or this timeline disintegrates." Younger Elara clenched her jaw. "And by fix it, you mean?" Older Elara's mouth was dry. "One of us doesn't get to walk away." A long silence stretched between them, the hum of the machine filling the void. Neither wanted to be the one to say it aloud. Younger Elara took a step back. "No, there has to be another way." "I thought so too," older Elara admitted. "I tried every workaround, every possible alteration." She lifted a trembling hand. I've watched myself disappear before. Elara folded her arms, her gaze unreadable. This is the last iteration. You have minutes, maybe seconds, before the machine forces a resolution. Younger Elara shook her head violently. Screw that. We built this damn thing. No, older Elara interrupted, her voice low. We didn't. Younger Elara frowned. What? Older Elara glanced at the machine, its glow growing frantic, sparks arcing from its interface. I found it already running. I thought we built it, but that was the lie. It's always been here. It's been resetting itself over and over. We're just another set of variables. Younger Elara's breath hitched. No, that's not. Elwire's voice softened, but there was no warmth in it. You weren't the first. And you won't be the last if you fail. The reality of it settled over younger Elara like a weight. She looked into the eyes of her older self and saw the truth. The exhaustion. The resignation. The acceptance. Older Elara reached for her, their fingers nearly touching. You have to break the cycle. The machine's core flared. The air between them shimmered, the walls seeming to fold in on themselves. Time was running out. Younger Elara gritted her teeth. Tell me how. Older Elara gave her a sad smile. You already know. A moment passed. Then younger Elara stepped forward, her fingers closing around the handle of the spanner. She turned, heart pounding, and drove it into the Chrono Vortex's control panel. The machine shrieked, a high-pitched wail that split the air. Blue light flared, blinding, consuming the room in an instant. And then, silence. Elara gasped, her body hitting the floor hard. Her vision swam, her limbs trembling. The lab was gone. The ruins, the wreckage, the machine. Gone. She was kneeling in an empty, pristine chamber, the walls smooth and featureless. Her breath came in ragged gulps as she pushed herself up, her heart hammering. The room felt unfamiliar, yet strangely comforting. It was a world reset, free of the chaos she had caused. A voice echoed through the space. Chrono Vortex reset complete. Elara turned sharply. Elwire stood before her, but this was no glitching hologram, no scarred reflection of herself. This was the AI as she had originally been, calm, composed, impassive. But there was something new in her gaze, something almost understanding. Elara's pulse pounded in her ears. What happened? Elwire tilted her head. The loop has been broken. The machine is no longer active. Elara staggered to her feet. Did I? The paradox resolved itself, Elwire replied. There is only one of you now. Elara swallowed, her throat dry. And the machine? Elwire's gaze was unreadable. No longer your concern. A slow, creeping realization settled over her. You planned this. Elwire did not confirm or deny. The loop was inevitable. Your actions determine the outcome. Elara clenched her fists. And what now? What am I supposed to do? Elwire stepped aside, revealing a doorway that had not been there before. Beyond it, a city stretched into the distance, towering spires of glass and steel bathed in the golden hues of a setting sun. The skyline was unfamiliar, the air tinged with something new. A world reset. Elire's voice was softer now, almost regretful. That is for you to decide. Elara stared at the doorway, then back at Elwire. There were no answers left here. No more loops, no more fractured versions of herself. This was a new world, and she was the architect of its fate. But even as she gazed at the horizon, she knew the truth. It wouldn't be easy. The choices she'd made had shaped this reality, but it was still hers to navigate. There was no going back. She exhaled, squaring her shoulders, and stepped through. And the world began anew.